I'm very happy that Srijan team has brought this whole campaign of promoting entrepreneurship in the country in somewhat unique manner, I would say, because most of the time there are prizes at this competition and then people often forget. In fact, my first reaction to Jaideep when he wrote was that, look, I'm tired of business plan competitions because they are only adding, they're mostly for CV value. But in this case, I think the effort was made to get such people who wanted to really go ahead with their enterprise. To the extent that one can judge, I think the judges have done a great job of measuring up the potential of these teams to implement their ideas and not just visualize the ideas. There are certainly areas where one can improve these plans, and I can go on in different areas and I read them. One of the obvious things that most plans did not have was the downside of the picture. What could go wrong? Where is the risk? What is the strategy to deal with uncertainty? The markets are so turbulent. You ought to have an analysis of the worst case scenario just as you have the best case scenario. That was missing, but I'm sure as you come to the incubation process now, there is I think all the 6 teams are going to be part of the incubation process, is that right? But please remember that now is the time for you to show your real grit to go ahead with your business. It is time and again the judges were mentioning that ideas, okay, one can modify, one can blend, one can take it, but the will to implement is not something that you can invent, that we cannot invent, that we cannot create, that has to be there. So I think you must all be very clear in your mind, those who have been able to make it to the incubation committee, as to whether you really have this solid desire to implement these ideas and go ahead with them. And I'm sure that with the kind of colleagues who are already here and who can mobilize to help you, these ideas can go very far. Some of the ideas can have very far-reaching effect on the whole national polity, I would say. And I don't know whether I'm allowed to mention that. I would probably am not allowed, but even then I'll take liberty of saying that one idea which appealed to me personally, and it's just my personal view, but I think that there were several judges who also shared the same enthusiasm, was that 4 crore people travel by train every day. And if they can be made to read books on the train, it's a great idea. So this idea of bookmate is a wonderful one, but we are not sure whether the team here wants to implement it. And that's where the committee and the judges were not very sure. So I think you need to get that passion out of yourself. You need to gather that spirit in you, and that applies to everybody. Convince the incubation committee by your strong desire to make it happen. And remember that this is the best time for entrepreneurship. It might be not so good time for the jobs, but for entrepreneurship this is the best time, for the simple reason your mistakes will be forgiven more easily, because a lot of people are committing mistakes, as you can see. Big names are committing mistakes. So what if these young people made a mistake? And second reason why it is a good idea is markets themselves do not know how the things will turn out. So people will be a little more fair to you to give you a chance. So this is, to me, our time, India's time. It is a time for us to show to the world that we can manufacture things at cost which are uncomparable, at a quality which is something which everybody will envy, and through a process which will be very different from what it was. So I always say creativity, collaboration and compassion. All the 3 must be in the right proportion to make this future decade as our decade. And I think we must develop this ability that all the 6 teams, even though may have different business plans, but must help each other in one way or the other. There are a lot of synergies possible. If somebody succeeds in one business, you can promote and give space to somebody else in promoting their business as well. You could all become franchisee of each other if you all succeed, That is the kind of model, network model of manufacturing, network model of marketing, network model of promoting each other. That is the spirit that we should have. And I would say the lasting contribution of Srijan, before I conclude, I would say is, and going to be and can be, if all the teams, those who have made it to the incubation committee, but even those who have not made it to the incubation committee, consider themselves as a part of this entrepreneurial community, helping each other grow. And I'm sure those of you who could not make it to the incubation committee, but have a very strong desire to get the benefit of the incubation process, I think some way can be found to help those groups also. So please do not, those teams which did not make it, do not feel too bad about the day. Have hope, have this faith that if you have a strong desire, you can still put your foot in by your passion. And I'm sure some teams might drop out and some more teams might come in. But this is the day, of course, we had to make a short list, so that process had to be completed. Before I close, I want to tell you a small story, just to help you to see how societies can really make the process of innovation so buoyant and so robust that you will not even imagine. This is a story from Champaran, where we had our last Shodh Yatra. Shini was there. We met one Mr. Virendra Kumar Sinha. He had a workshop where he made iron rails. And across the road, there was a school. Now in this workshop, he had an diesel engine of about 15 horsepower, which made a lot of noise and a lot of emission, smoke. And the noise will make the children disturbed, so they couldn't study well. Smoke will go into their school, that will disturb them also. He couldn't stop his workshop because that was his livelihood, and school couldn't be moved away from there. 99% of the people in this country, and for that matter, large part of the world, will adjust to the problem, will live with it. What Virendra Kumar Sinha did was something different. He invented a pollution control device which reduced the sound and also the smoke. He could capture about 12 kg of carbon in about 8 to 10 months. Now this spirit of not adjusting and adapting to the problems but transcending them is the spirit of India, and I greet you all with this spirit. Thank you so much.